28 degrees in Miami. Yes, you heard that right. Miami, Florida could see temperatures that haven't occurred in over 15 years this weekend, and that's just the beginning of what's shaping up to be one of the most remarkable weather weeks the eastern half of the country has seen in years. If your weekend plans involve being outside anywhere from Texas to Maine, you need to hear what's coming in the next 72 hours. We're tracking a historic cold blast, a potentially crippling ice storm for the south, and yes, that massive nor'easter that could bury parts of the East Coast. I'm going to break down all three of these stories, show you exactly when each one impacts your area, and explain why this particular combination is so unusual. But first, I need you to do something. Comment below with your city and tell me which of these three threats concerns you most: the extreme cold, the ice, or the snow. Because at the 5-minute mark and again at 23 minutes, I'm going to address specific locations based on what you're asking about. And right now, let me give you the headline numbers for 5 key cities. Dallas, Texas. Ice accumulation begins Friday evening around 7 p.m. Continues through Saturday morning with up to ½ an inch possible. Atlanta, Georgia. Freezing rain starts Friday night around midnight. Heaviest Saturday morning with a ½ inch of ice likely. Charlotte, North Carolina. Transition from ice to snow Saturday morning around 8 a.m. Ending up with 4 to 7 inches. Boston, Massachusetts. Blizzard conditions Saturday night starting around 9 p.m. Continuing into Sunday morning with 18 inches possible. And Chicago, Illinois, the cold hits you hardest Sunday morning with wind chills reaching -25 degrees. Now, let me explain why this week is so unusual from a meteorological standpoint. We have 3 separate weather features that are all happening at the same time, and they're all being driven by the same upper-level pattern. That polar vortex I mentioned, it's not just sending one piece of energy south. It's sending multiple lobes, and they're all positioned in a way that creates different impacts for different regions. The first lobe is diving through the Rockies right now, and that's what's going to bring the ice storm to the south. The second lobe is the one that creates the nor'easter along the East Coast. And the third lobe, which is actually the coldest of them all, that's coming behind everything else, and it's going to make the aftermath of these storms even more miserable because nothing is going to melt. Let me start with the ice storm because that's the most immediate threat for a huge population. Ice storms are different from snowstorms in terms of impact. You don't need a lot of ice to create massive problems. A ½ inch of ice can bring down power lines. ½ an inch of ice can snap tree branches. And we're looking at areas that could see those kinds of accumulations. The setup is textbook for an ice event across the deep south. You've got cold air locked in at the surface, temperatures right around 31 or 32 degrees. Then you've got warmer air moving in aloft, above the surface. Precipitation falls as rain through that warm layer, then hits the cold air at the surface and freezes on contact. That's freezing rain, and it's one of the most dangerous winter weather phenomena we deal with. Birmingham, Alabama, you're in the crosshairs for this ice event. Friday night into Saturday morning is your window. I'm forecasting a ½ to ½ inch of ice accumulation. That's significant. That's power outages likely. That's tree damage probable. That's stay off the roads, unless absolutely necessary kind of impacts. Huntsville, same story, maybe slightly less ice, closer to a ½ inch, but still problematic. Montgomery, you're on the southern edge, maybe just a glaze, a 1/10 of an inch or less, but even that creates hazardous driving. Atlanta, I mentioned you in the opening, but let me give you more detail. The Friday night commute should be okay. Friday evening activities, you're fine. But Friday night into Saturday morning, that's when things deteriorate rapidly. We're talking about freezing rain developing after midnight, becoming moderate to heavy at times Saturday morning. The morning commute Saturday is going to be treacherous. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you don't have to go out Saturday morning, don't. A ½ inch of ice is my forecast for the metro area, with some spots possibly seeing closer to a 1/3 of an inch. North of the city, up toward the mountains, you might see some sleet mixing in, which actually helps a bit because sleet doesn't stick to things like freezing rain does. But for the city proper, this is an ice event. Macon, Georgia, you're looking at similar timing but slightly less ice. Maybe a 1/10 to a ½ inch. Columbus, Georgia, same range. The pattern is consistent across central Georgia. Friday night is when it starts. Saturday morning is when it's worst. Saturday afternoon it begins to transition as temperatures either warm enough for plain rain or cool enough for snow. That transition line is going to be critical, and it's still not perfectly clear where it sets up. Now here's where the forecast gets complicated. Or I should say, here's where I need to be very honest about uncertainty. That transition from ice to snow that I just mentioned, the exact location where that occurs is still being debated by the forecast models. The European model has been showing a sharp cutoff, where areas north of a certain line see mostly snow while areas south see mostly ice. The GFS model has been showing a more gradual transition with a larger mixed precipitation zone. For cities right along that borderline, this makes a huge difference in impacts. Greenville, South Carolina, you're one of those borderline cities. I think you start with freezing rain Friday night, maybe pick up 1/10 of an inch of ice, then transition to sleet and eventually snow Saturday morning. By the time it's done, you could have 2 to 4 inches of snow on top of that ice. Or, if the transition happens faster, you could end up with 4 to 6 inches of snow and less ice. Or, if the transition happens slower, you could end up with more ice and less snow. See the problem? This is the kind of forecast where I'm going to have much better information tomorrow. The overnight model runs are going to be crucial for pinning down that transition zone. Spartanburg, South Carolina, you're just north of Greenville, so you're more likely to see a quicker transition to snow. 3 to 5 inches seems reasonable. Anderson, you're west of Greenville. You might see less overall because you're on the edge of the precipitation shield. Columbia, South Carolina, now you're getting interesting. You're far enough southeast that the ice might be more of a factor for you than for the upstate. I'd say a 1/4 inch of ice is possible Friday night, then a transition to snow Saturday with 2 to 4 inches accumulation. Let me jump over to North Carolina because you've got your own complicated forecast. The mountains of North Carolina, you're cold enough that this is mostly a snow event for you. Asheville, Boone, Blowing Rock, you're looking at Friday night into Saturday with 3 to 6 inches of snow. Not a huge event by mountain standards, but enough to impact travel. The Triad, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, you're in that transition zone too. Ice Friday night, maybe 1/10 to a 1/4 inch, then snow Saturday. Total snow accumulation, 3 to 5 inches most likely. Charlotte, I gave you the headline number already, but let me elaborate. You haven't seen significant snow since 2022. This could be your biggest event in over a decade. The ice comes first, Friday night, and you could pick up 1/10 of an inch or so. Not catastrophic by itself, but enough to glaze roads and create some problems. Then Saturday morning, the transition to snow occurs. And once it transitions, it comes down steadily. We're talking about snowfall rates of 1 inch per hour at times. By Saturday afternoon, you've got 4 to 7 inches on the ground. Some models are even more aggressive, showing closer to 8 or 9 inches. I think that's probably overdone, but somebody in the Charlotte metro is going to see those kinds of totals. The question is who? Raleigh, Durham, you're east of Charlotte, and your forecast is even more impactful potentially. Less ice, more snow. The ice Friday night might only amount to a glaze, 1/10 of an inch or less. But the snow Saturday, that could be significant. 6 to 10 inches is my call right now, with the possibility of locally higher amounts. This could be the biggest snow in Raleigh since the early 2000s. The city is not equipped for this kind of snow. Roads are going to be impassable in many areas. This is a stay-home event. Fayetteville, North Carolina, 5 to 8 inches of snow after a brief period of ice. Wilmington, you're getting closer to the coast, 4 to 6 inches. Jacksonville, 3 to 5. And all of you in North Carolina need to know that the wind is going to be a factor Saturday. Not blizzard-level winds for most of you, but gusty enough to cause some blowing and drifting snow. 30-mile-per-hour gusts are likely across the Piedmont. Now let's shift to Virginia because this is where the nor'easter really starts to show its power. The ice storm that affects the South, that's more of a peripheral issue for Virginia. You might see some sleet mixing in Friday night in southwestern Virginia, but the main story for you is snow, and lots of it. Roanoke, you're looking at Saturday with 4 to 6 inches. Lynchburg, similar. Charlottesville, 5 to 7 inches. These are respectable totals, enough to create significant travel issues. But they're not the headline numbers. Richmond, you're getting closer to the bullseye. 6 to 9 inches Saturday into Saturday night. This is your biggest snow event in several years. The capital city is going to see significant impacts. Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads. This is your storm. I mentioned this in the opening, but I cannot stress enough how significant this could be for you. 6 to 10 inches of snow is the base forecast. But here's what makes this really concerning. The wind. We're not just talking about snow. We're talking about blizzard conditions. Winds gusting to 40, 50, even 60 miles per hour at times, Saturday night into Sunday. That with heavy snow creates whiteout conditions. Visibility drops to near zero. Roads become impassable not because of snow depth, but because you can't see where you're going. The Outer Banks. You're in an even more extreme situation. Blizzard warnings are almost certain to be issued for you. This could be a historic event. The combination of heavy snow and hurricane-force wind gusts, and I'm not exaggerating when I say hurricane force, we could see gusts of 70 miles per hour or higher creates conditions that are genuinely dangerous. If you're on the Outer Banks and you have the ability to leave before this hits, seriously consider it. If you're staying, prepare for power outages that could last days, not hours. Let me talk about the Delmarva Peninsula because you're in an interesting spot forecast-wise. Salisbury, Maryland, Ocean City, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. You're close enough to the coast that you're going to see impacts, but the exact track of the storm determines how much. Right now, I'd say 4 to 8 inches of snow is most likely with winds gusting to 45 miles per hour. But if this tracks 50 miles further west, you could see significantly more. If it tracks further east, you could see significantly less. This is a tomorrow's forecast will be much clearer situation. Washington, D.C. Here's the thing about your forecast. You're far enough inland that this storm is probably not your main event. You'll see some snow Saturday, maybe 2 to 4 inches, possibly a bit more if things trend further west. But this isn't going to be the blizzard that the coast sees. Baltimore, similar story, maybe 3 to 5 inches. Philadelphia, you're getting into that zone where the track really matters. The GFS model has been more generous with snow for you than the European model. I'd say 3 to 6 inches is the range right now, but that could shift significantly with tomorrow's data. New York City, coastal scraper is the term we use, and you're right on the edge. Some model runs give you a few inches, others give you barely anything. Newark, Long Island, you're all in the same boat. Low confidence forecast right now. I'll have much better information tomorrow. But let me tell you where I do have high confidence. Eastern Long Island, the Hamptons, Montauk. You're looking at 8 to 12 inches. You're close enough to the coast that you'll be in the heavier snow bands. Connecticut coast, New Haven, Bridgeport, Stamford, you're looking at moderate snow. 4 to 8 inches seems reasonable. Hartford, you're getting more inland, maybe 4 to 6 inches. Providence, Rhode Island, 6 to 9 inches with gusty winds. The Rhode Island coast could see some of the higher totals in southern New England outside of Massachusetts. And that brings me to Massachusetts, which is where this storm reaches its peak intensity. Boston, I gave you the headline already. 18 inches is what the models are showing. I think that might be slightly high, but not by much. 15 to 20 inches is the range I'm most confident in. This is a major winter storm for you. But it's not just the snow. The wind is going to be ferocious. We're talking about sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour, with gusts potentially reaching 70 or even 80 miles per hour. That's not a typo. The European model is showing wind gusts Saturday night that would rival a Category 1 hurricane. Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. You are in the absolute bullseye of this storm. Blizzard warnings are guaranteed. This could be a foot to 2 feet of snow event. 2 feet is not out of the question for some locations. And with those hurricane-force winds, we're talking about snowdrifts that could be 6, 8, 10 feet high in some spots. This is an absolutely life-threatening situation if you're caught out in it. Do not travel during the height of this storm. Do not try to go check on something or run a quick errand. Conditions will be whiteout. Roads will be impassable. And you could get stranded very quickly. Plymouth, Massachusetts, New Bedford, Fall River. You're all looking at similar impacts to Boston. 12 to 18 inches of snow, blizzard conditions likely. Worcester. You're inland, but you're going to get hammered too. 15 to 20 inches is not unreasonable for you. The interior of Massachusetts could actually see some of the highest totals because you get the upslope snow component as the storm winds wrap around. Now let me jump north to New Hampshire and Maine because you're going to see impacts too, just not quite as extreme as Massachusetts. Portsmouth, New Hampshire, 10 to 15 inches. Manchester, 8 to 12 inches. Portland, Maine, 12 to 16 inches. Bangor, you're getting further north, maybe 6 to 10 inches. The storm loses some of its punch as it moves north, but you're still looking at a significant snow event. Vermont, you're on the western edge of this. Burlington, maybe 4 to 7 inches. Not nothing, but not the jackpot totals of the coast. The mountains of Vermont and New Hampshire could see some nice snow for skiing, 8 to 12 inches in spots. But again, you're peripheral to the main event. Okay, I need to pause and make sure we're all on the same page about timing because that's crucial for planning. The ice storm in the south, that's Friday night into Saturday morning. Peak impacts Saturday morning, roughly 6 a.m. to noon Central and Eastern Time. The snow in the Carolinas and Virginia, that's Saturday. Peak impacts Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. The nor'easter along the coast, that's Saturday afternoon ramping up. Saturday night into Sunday morning for peak impacts. So Saturday is the day. Friday is prep time. Saturday is impact time. Sunday is cleanup time, although the wind lingers Sunday, making cleanup difficult. Now, I promised I'd talk about the extreme cold, and I haven't forgotten. This is the third piece of this whole setup, and in some ways, it's the most widespread impact. After the ice, after the snow, after the wind, comes the cold. And I'm not talking about typical January cold. I'm talking about some of the coldest air we've seen in several years for some locations. Sunday morning, wind chills across the Midwest are going to be brutal. Chicago, I mentioned -25 in the opening. That's not the air temperature, that's what it feels like with the wind. Actual air temperature might be -5 or -10, but with the wind, it feels like -25. Minneapolis, you're colder. Wind chills Sunday morning could approach -40. That's dangerous cold. Frostbite in minutes, kind of cold. Detroit, -15 to -20 wind chills. Cleveland, -10 to -15. Even areas that don't usually see extreme cold are going to feel it. Nashville, you could wake up Sunday to single-digit temperatures. Memphis, low teens. Little Rock, teens. This cold snap affects everyone. And here's what makes it worse. After the ice storm, after the snowstorm, you've got power outages in some areas. No heat, no electricity. In temperatures like this, that's not just uncomfortable, that's dangerous. This is why preparation matters so much. If you're in an area that's going to see the ice or the snow, you need to prepare not just for the storm itself, but for the cold aftermath. The cold pushes all the way to the Gulf Coast. New Orleans, Monday morning you could see temperatures in the low 20s. Houston, mid-20s. San Antonio, upper 20s. These are cities where infrastructure is not built for prolonged cold. Pipes burst. Roads ice over because nobody has salt or sand. It's a mess, and the cold lingers. This isn't a one-day event. Sunday is the coldest day, but Monday is still well below average. Tuesday starts to moderate slightly, but we're not getting back to normal temperatures until the middle of next week. Florida, you're not immune either. Jacksonville, you're looking at low 30s Monday morning. Orlando, mid-30s. Tampa, upper 30s. Miami. This is where that 28-degree forecast I mentioned in the opening comes in. The Florida Keys could see their coldest temperatures in over a decade. The agriculture industry is going to take a hit. Citrus crops are at risk. This is significant cold for that far south. Let me circle back to model uncertainty because I've mentioned it several times and I want to be clear about what that means for you. When I say the models disagree, I'm not saying I don't know what's going to happen. I'm saying the precise details are still being refined. The big picture is clear. Ice storm for the south. Nor'easter for the east coast. Extreme cold behind it. Those are happening. The uncertainty is in the exact amounts, the exact locations of the heaviest impacts, the exact timing down to the hour. And that's where tomorrow's forecast comes in. Tonight's model runs, the midnight runs of the GFS and the European. Those are going to start locking things in more. By tomorrow morning, the short-range models, the NAM, the HRRR, they're going to be coming into range for the ice storm. That gives us much higher confidence on ice amounts and transition timing. By tomorrow evening, those same short-range models will be getting into range for the nor'easter. That's when snow totals can be refined significantly. This is why you need to come back tomorrow. Not just because I'm asking you to, but because the forecast is genuinely going to improve. The uncertainty is going to decrease. The ranges I've given you today, like 6 to 10 inches for Norfolk, that might narrow to 7 to 9 inches tomorrow. Or it might shift to 8 to 12 inches. The new data matters. The updated models matter. And I'll have all of that for you tomorrow at the same time. Let me talk about something nobody else is probably mentioning yet. The week after this, once this whole pattern moves through, once the cold moderates, what happens then? Well, the long-range models are hinting at another storm system developing in the January 30th to February 1st timeframe. It's too far out to give you specifics, but it's something to watch. The pattern we're in, this active pattern with storms developing every few days, that's probably going to continue for at least another week or two. For snow lovers, this is a good pattern. For people tired of winter, I'm sorry, but it's not over yet. We're in a very active phase of the winter season, and these kinds of patterns can persist for weeks once they establish themselves. So, even after this weekend's storms, stay tuned, because more weather is coming. Now, I know some of you are in areas I haven't mentioned yet. Let me cover a few more regions. Texas Panhandle, Amarillo, Lubbock. You're in the cold but missing most precipitation. Light snow Friday, maybe an inch or two. The cold Sunday and Monday is your main story. Waco, Austin, San Antonio, southern edge of the ice, maybe sleet or freezing drizzle. Your concern is Monday's cold and frozen pipes. Oklahoma City, you're getting ice Friday night into Saturday. Quarter to half inch likely. Tulsa, similar. Arkansas, Little Rock. This could be significant ice for you. Quarter inch minimum. Missouri, St. Louis, Kansas City, 2 to 4 inches of snow Friday into Friday night, then bitter cold. Indiana, Indianapolis, 3 to 5 inches. Friday night. Ohio, Columbus and Cincinnati, 3 to 6 inches. Followed by dangerous cold. Michigan, Detroit gets 6 to 10 inches Saturday, then wind chills hitting -20 Sunday. Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Madison, 4 to 8 inches, then the coldest air of the season. Preparation differs by threat. For ice zones, prepare for power outages, flashlights, batteries, alternate heating, food that doesn't need cooking, charge devices. Fill bathtubs with water, bring in outdoor items that could become projectiles. For heavy snow areas with blizzard conditions, prepare for being stuck home multiple days. Stock food, medications, essentials. Ready generators with fuel if you have them. For cold zones east of the Rockies, protect against frozen pipes. Let faucets drip Sunday night, open cabinet doors under sinks, disconnect garden hoses, cover outside faucets. Bring pets inside, check on elderly neighbors. And everyone needs multiple ways to get weather information. Don't rely just on your phone. Have a battery-powered radio. Know where to get updates if power goes out. I mentioned at 5 minutes, I'd address location questions from comments. I see questions about specific neighborhoods, travel, school closings. For neighborhood forecasts, I can't get that specific. But if you're in a city I've mentioned, apply the forecast to your area. For travel, my advice is don't. Not Friday in ice zones. Not Saturday anywhere on the East Coast. Not Sunday in bitter cold areas. If you must travel, have a winter survival kit. Blankets, food, water, flashlight, first aid, charged phone. Tell someone your route and arrival time. Many school districts from the South through Mid-Atlantic will likely be closed Monday. Some possibly Friday, too. Here's the hour-by-hour timeline. Thursday night, cold air filters south. Friday afternoon, moisture moves in from southwest. Friday evening, 6 to 8 p.m. Central. Freezing rain begins in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Friday night, 9 p.m. to midnight. Freezing rain spreads to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Saturday morning, 1 to 6 a.m., peak ice accumulation deep south. Saturday, 6 a.m. to noon, ice transitions to snow across Carolinas. Saturday afternoon, heavy snow develops Virginia and Mid-Atlantic. Snow begins along coast. Saturday evening, 6 p.m. to midnight, nor'easter intensifies. Heavy snow spreads northeast. Blizzard conditions develop coast. Saturday night to Sunday, 6 a.m., peak blizzard coastal New England. Maximum wind gusts. Sunday morning, storm pulls away. Snow winds down, but wind continues. Extreme cold arrives, Midwest. About the bigger picture. This week is about a pattern, not just individual storms. The polar vortex has amplified, sending multiple energy pieces south. This creates active winter weather. For the South, this might feel unprecedented, but climatologically, it's within normal winter variability. We see patterns like this every few years. Last time, probably 2021 or 2018. This is what real winter looks like. A reminder to stay prepared and take forecasts seriously. Final reminder. Comments. Drop your location. Tell me your concerns. I read them. I take them seriously, and they help me shape tomorrow's forecast to address what people actually want to know. The forecast models are tools, but connecting with people, understanding what information you need, that's what makes these forecasts useful. Tomorrow, same time, I'll have updated everything. Ice accumulation maps with higher confidence. Snow totals refined. Wind forecasts with specific gust predictions by region. Cold outbreak details with exact temperature forecasts city by city. The uncertainty decreases, the forecast improves, and you'll have the information you need to make final preparations. Thank you for watching all the way through. This was comprehensive because it needed to be. 3 major stories happening simultaneously, all part of the same pattern, all impacting different regions in different ways. Stay safe. Take this seriously. Prepare today. Weather doesn't wait, and this weekend, it's bringing everything at once. I'll see you tomorrow with updates.